things that they told me I should never do. I've been doing things that they told me I could never do now. Never do, I could never do. I've been looking back and I'm the only one who ever knew. My dreams began to turn out.
It's time to focus on what you should do before the actual event. So, say tomorrow is your first Christmas party and it's in the evening, right? We have all day to kind of, prepare ourselves for the big game. So before the event, what we want to do is try to get what I like to call a hat trick, right? So everybody knows what a hat trick is, right? It's where you do 3 things in a sport. So like if you score a goal 3 times, that's a hat trick. In the nutritional world, what I kind of came up with today, before the event, our hat trick is where we want to focus on achieving 3 things before our event. And that's where we have high protein meals, hit the gym before the event, and have perspective. So 3 H's, it's a hat trick. So that's what we want to focus on before the event. So let's just kind of dive into these a little bit deeper here. So firstly, focusing on having high protein meals. When we are focusing on that, we want to just try to stick to our nutritional plan throughout the day. So tomorrow is the big event, in the evening, that's when we are going to the event. Before that, we still want to stick to our routine. We still want to try to stick to our meals that we've planned out for ourselves. But we want to try to, adapt things a little bit to some degree where we are prioritizing having high protein meals throughout the day. So that way we can just kind of, allocate more of our fun macros into the evening. I don't want you guys to starve yourself or anything like that where you have no carbs and no fats all day, so you have all your carbs and fats for the evening. That's not the strategy here whatsoever. Still make sure that you are fueling yourself as needed. But what I have found to be helpful for me when I implement this strategy and other clients as well is where they save up, a certain percentage for themselves. So a good amount is where you have around 20 grams of fat, 80 grams of carbs, and 20 grams of protein for the event. So that way you have those macronutrients for yourself readily available for when you go to the event. So sticking to the same meals throughout the day is really helpful with that. But, just trying to scale back, your fun macronutrients just to some degree. So that way you have more to play with in the evening. So for example, say you typically have, 80 grams of carbs for your breakfast. That's typically what I have. I have a nice big bowl of cereal, but you can maybe scale that back a little bit where you play with the ratios where you only have 60 grams of carbohydrates for your breakfast, and then that way you can allocate that amount towards the evening. So having high protein meals throughout the day can be really helpful with that. And then another thing in regards to having high protein, right before the event, so right before you're getting ready to leave, have a protein shake before you go. Because as we know, right, we've learned this before, protein, it takes a long time to digest. So it is basically your secret weapon to help you feeling more full and satiated. Because if we leave before the event or we're already feeling hungry, it's very easy to overconsume calories when we go to the event. Because let's face it, all of the meals typically, right, are going to be foods and meals that aren't very satiating, but they're very palatable. So when we notice that there's not a lot of protein, not a lot of fruits and vegetables, when we go to these events, we know that it's very easy to overconsume those calories because they don't leave us feeling as full as, some of those whole nutrient dense foods. So by making sure that you have a serving of your protein before you go to the event, it can be really helpful with, just curbing your appetite a little bit. So that way you don't overdo it. I still want you to enjoy yourself. I still want you to focus on, having a lot of these yummy foods, but, we don't want to overdo it, right? It's okay to indulge, but we don't want to overindulge. There's a difference between these two things. So having a protein shake or even like a protein bar, it doesn't have to be a protein shake. You can have a chicken breast if you want, whatever you want. Any type of serving of lean protein right before you leave, it goes a long ways. So that's the first H. The next one is to hit the gym. So that might be hard for some people, right? Especially on Christmas Day. You know, a lot of gyms are closed. I don't expect you guys to go to the gym on Christmas Day. So when I say that, you know, just do something active. Do something that's going to help, you know, just release some of those endorphins, you know, just get you feeling good. You know, we always feel better when we actually move our body. I get that we all want to sit in our PJs and watch Christmas movies, and that's great. You can still do that. But, you know, ask the family to just go for a walk around the block. You know, just do something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy where you're going to the gym to get a 90-minute workout. Even going skating with the family, providing it's not -30, go for a walk with the family. You know, just doing something like that, nice and active, it's going to make you feel a lot better, especially if you're eating a bunch of different foods that are really heavy and, you know, can make you feel very lethargic afterwards. So by moving your body, it's going to help, you know, just reduce the amount of, you know, fatigue that, you know, often occurs after having a big meal. And then the last one, the last H, to make sure that we get our hat trick before we go to the event, is to have perspective. So we've talked about this, like I said previously, mindset, preparing yourself. You know, we want to be constantly doing this. So before you go to the event, you know, give yourself a bit of a pep talk here. You know, remind yourself that you have planned for this, you have been proactive with this, and because of that, you can trust in your ability that it's gonna be okay. And hey, you know what? If it's not, if you do overindulge and you don't indulge and you go a little bit more overboard than what you originally wanted, it's gonna be okay. Remind yourself of that. Remind yourself that one bad meal, it's not gonna make or break you. So having that perspective before you go to the event is extremely important. So that's what we wanna do before we go to the actual event here. Okay, so moving on, what the heck do we do during the event? We get there, we've had our protein shake right before, we've hit the gym, we've given ourselves our pep talk. Now we're actually there, we're at the big game. What the heck do we do? Do we track our macros? Do we bring our food scale? Do we, you know, what do we do, right? And I think the biggest thing that we want to focus on here is, you know, just reminding ourselves that, hey, we made the decision that we want to focus on making memories. So because of that, leave the food scale at home, focus on, you know, just enjoying yourself. And I wouldn't worry about tracking. Unless you're competing or anything like that, I think, you know, it can be really helpful to focus on, you know, just practicing that mindful eating method that we've talked about previously. You've saved up your macros during the day. You have roughly 20 fat, 80 carbs, 20 protein for the event. Don't worry about trying to fit the foods that you had no idea were going to be there into those macronutrients, because it's probably not going to happen. And because of that, you're just going to feel guilty afterwards. So I would take an untracked meal and focus on implementing mindful eating practices. There's an acronym here that I want to focus on to help you guys remember what to do during the actual event. So the acronym is called CHEW. I'll just quickly list it out and then we'll kind of touch on it a little bit more. So for the acronym CHEW, what to do during the event. C, so choose protein and vegetables first. Have fun with the foods that you enjoy within moderation. E is to eat until you feel physically full. And the W is to wait 15 minutes before going up for seconds. So CHEW for C. Like I said, choose high protein vegetables. And I know that you've already been doing that throughout the entire day. But like I said previously, having a good amount of protein, a good amount of vegetables is going to help curb your appetite. So we always want to make sure that we're still filling up our plates with lots of protein and vegetables first. But that's where the H comes into play. Have fun with the foods that you like. So if they have pie there, go enjoy some pie. You know, make sure that, you know, you're focusing on enjoying the foods that you love. You know, when do we ever really eat sugar cookies and gingerbread snaps? You know, it's that time of year where, you know, we don't get to have those items all year long. And, you know, those are things that we enjoy. They kind of play into nostalgia. They remind us of what it's like when we were a kid. So I get it. Have those foods that you actually love. just make sure you do so in moderation. You know, maybe have 1 or 2 pieces of pie versus 4. You know, maybe have 1 glass of wine versus an entire bottle. You know, you can have fun with the foods that you enjoy, but we want to do so within moderation. And that's why step number 1 with C, choose protein and vegetables first. It's really going to help, you know, just make sure that we're indulging, but not overindulging. So that's C, that's H. The next one is E. Eat until you feel physically full. Having, you know, a big swig of water before you have your meal. Focus on eating slowly, you know, 20 bites between each bite. Put down your fork and your knife between each bite as well too, and really just, you know, focus on stop eating when you feel physically full. So when I say that, a lot of people, and myself included, I was brought up this way, they think that they need to finish what's on their plate. You do not. If you are full and there's still food on your plate, it's okay. There's a lot more food, I imagine, on the table that's gonna go to waste. It's the way that it is. You know, don't feel like you need to force feed yourself just because there's more food on your plate. If you feel full, it's okay to stop eating. And then the last one, W, wait 15 minutes before you go up for seconds. And the reason for this, of course, is because it takes time for our food to digest. So after you just finished your first serving, you may still feel hungry, but you know, we want to wait just a little bit because quite often we need to give our bodies time for our digestion to kind of catch up to what our hunger cues are telling us. So by waiting, you know, a good 15 minutes, even if you're still hungry after that, at least you will know what your true hunger levels feel like. It's not going to feel as, you know, horrible, if you will, than if you wait, right? So if you wait 15 minutes, you might grab a little bit less than what you originally would have if you didn't wait the 15 minutes. Okay, so that's chewed. What to do during the event.